Hi everyone, slightly late but feeling great. You're with the Cheese Room podcast tonight. It's your host, the caller, live back in the man cave. The Wi-Fi's holding up all right. The gremlins in the machine have been squashed. So hopefully, we should get through today's session uninterrupted. Which is beautiful when especially we've got two small kids that won't sleep. I've got loads of guests, so let's go around the room tonight and do smash that like button. 28 of you watching already, smash that like button as soon as you come in. HG, how are you from England, no less? And are you enjoying? I saw you enjoying the weather today. Gobsmacked that the sun was shining.
Yeah, basically, I'm here, as you might know, visiting my mum, taking my daughter to see her gran, and so we only did a steam train experience this morning, and it was actually really nice, like almost perfect weather. So life is good. Back to normality on Monday, but hopefully, if I've managed to wangle it, I'll be at Forest on Sunday. So super excited about that.
Oh, are you going? Are you? Didn't realise that.
I think so. Until I send you a picture of me in the stand, I'm not going to say yes or no.
There's a hang on here. Are you in the away end?
I'm in the away end. I'm not going to leave early like you. I'll be in the away end.
Okay, that's all right then. Yeah. You need to tell me how you've done that because I could have gone. Joining us all the way from Nottingham, I presume, Mr. Dorr. How are you, sir? Welcome to the channel.
Thanks for having me on, boys. Good to be back, and good to be back in the Premier League. And yes, let the fun begin. Let the fun begin.
We all can't wait. Jack, how is Brooklyn tonight?
It's thunder and lightning, absolute raining, cats and dogs. I'm not sure, how the missus is going to get home. So maybe at some stage I'll get an emergency phone call, maybe have to, escape her from the subway, but hopefully she'll manage. I'm not kidding. It's really pissing down.
Yeah. Well,
that's how it is. I gave you a weather report. Didn't even talk about myself. The weather report, in case you were interested.
I'm interested. I wish we had a bit more rain here, if I'm being really honest. The soil is parched, but there you go. One man who's not parched, I'm sure. Irish Hotspur, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for coming back.
No worries at all. I got plenty of water today, so my vocals are warm and waiting to go.
That's good. Always good to have you on, mate. So today we're going to be talking Champions League draw because, there is only one team in North London that plays in the Champions League, so we'll absolutely be talking about that. We're going to preview the Forest away game, talk about the transfer window, and there is a certain celebration that I want to go hard on it, but I can't quite yet because it's not signed, sealed, delivered. He's Sampdoria's. But there we go. We'll get to that later in the show. So, without further ado, Mr. Dorr, talk us through how on earth you've signed about 25 players now in this transfer window. It's a hell of an achievement, isn't it?
I thought it was more than that. Wow, where should I start? Like I said, we had to get these 15 players in because, as you know, we had 5 loan players out of contract, players that had to leave as well. And altogether, that was 15 players all gone. So we had to get in the market and bring in another 15 players in because if we didn't, we would have struggled in the Premier League, get battered everywhere, and we didn't want to be a Norwich, a Fulham, and a Bournemouth. Yeah. And the point as well, like I said, we've been in the Championship Championship League One and Championship for 23 years. And when teams like Norwich, who I spoke to about, they had players worth 12 million, blah blah blah. Last season, the team altogether cost 6 million. So we had to get the players, and the players that we brought in are quality. And I understand, like I said, I get it. Like I said, we're a big club, and some people are saying, "Oh, why are we brought these players in?" But we don't see teams battering us. Like Norwich, they've been to Premier League 3 times and they've been straight back down. So we had to get these 15 players in. Like I said, you've got Djed Spence from Spurs, and he was fantastic for us. And
I could ask you about him. What? I mean, he's like third choice right back here currently. What can we expect from him when he does eventually get a chance? I presume I've only heard good things from Forest fans.
When Djed Spence came to the club, like I said, when he first came, like I said, we had loads of players in that position, right back, and I'll be honest with you, I said to myself, "Oh, not another right back, not another right back." And when he played under Chris Hughton, ex-Spurs coach, he wasn't great, and we thought to ourselves, "Oh, another lone player, blah blah blah." And then when Steve Cooper come in, the story says that he was one of the best lone players that Nottingham Forest ever had. And I think, as everyone sees, that game that you'll be happy for when we beat Arsenal 1-0 in the FA Cup. That game that everyone start watching him. And like I said, we could have brought him in January for cheaper chips, but something happened, and then from there we could mention after with a playoff final, we knew he wanted to stay, but at the same time, because he's from London, and Spurs, like I said, were lurking around. Everyone knew he wanted to go back. He wanted to go to Spurs, and Forest wanted him. But if he doesn't want to come to Forest, we just move on, and we had to, because we're that kind of club now with Steve Cooper in charge. We're not going to wait. So when we made a bid for Spence, we got rejected. We move on. We got Reece Williams from Liverpool. But yeah, it just Spence. I personally think he's going to be a fantastic sign for Spurs, but it'll take time for him to get in that team, because I know you got Emerson Royal, you got Doherty on your side as well. It's going to take time, because we know the Championship is a different kettle of fish to the Premier League, and I know there's been so much gossip and rumours about saying he's unhappy at Spurs, but he's got to get used to it. He's got to get used to it, because like the Spurs, the team they want to be top four, and Spence has got to buy his time to get in that side. So you've got a fantastic player, but at the same time he's raw, and he's got to work under. He's got to play a manager like Conte to work with him. So you've got a good signing, but it'll take time.
Are you happier with Neco Williams right now, would you say, or would you take Djed Spence back? I know it's a bit soon to ask, but it might be a good question.
It's a bit early to say that, but at the same time, he's so far he's done for us. But it's 3 games in. We can't judge him yet. But his experience with the Welsh international, I know he didn't get much time with Liverpool last season. He did great with Fulham, but he's a cracking signing for us. Like I said, I think it cost 17 million for us. So he's young. He can work. Steve Cooper is a manager that can improve him. Spence-wise, like I said, it would be nice to have kept Spence, but at the same time, there's, like I said, he wanted to move to London, but the famous thing said you can't fall in love with loan players. And I'm not, because, like I said, he was one of the best loan signs that Forest have ever had. But at the same time, like I said, he's moved on. We've got Williams instead.
And of the players that you let go over the summer for whatever reason, are there any players that you miss desperately, or are you just focused on here and now?
Well, I think we're focusing here now, because you said you can't. Like I said, it's been 23 years since we were back in the Premier League. Samba, fantastic goalkeeper for us. He was there for 3 years, and he had a lot of criticism as well. But at the same time, like I said, he wants to leave Forest, and we brought a better keeper than Dean Henderson from Man United as well. Lewis Grabban, 34 years old, another good player, but he didn't sign a contract. So again, we had to get another striker in, Tyrell Wanley, who come from Hertha Berlin, who's third top scorer in Germany. So another good buy. As well with James Garner, a fantastic player from Man United. Like I said, I don't know the situation with him, but we had to improve him to get a better player than him. So I'm happy with the players that we've got. As you know, I mentioned we got Reguilon. He was at Watford on loan. I know he's gone to Olympiacos, but now, as you know, it's been talked about on every platform. We got Jesse Lingard that everyone's talking about, and another quality player. Everyone says about the money, but if it was about money, he would have gone to a different abroad or whatever he's going to. But Jesse Lingard, another fantastic signing, and I can keep going on. Every player has left Nottingham Forest, we've got a better player in. But it's 3 games in. It will take time, and it's a long season for us. But the question is, like, we brought in players that can replace the player that's left, Forest.
Who's your standout players, Mr. Dorr? I mean, there's too many to go through. Obviously, I know
Too many.
he spent like over 140 million quid. I think. My thoughts on that is Forest and Cooper are really gambling a little bit on staying in the Premier League this season. They've got to stay in the Premier League now with what they've spent, because FFP will make it very tight for you to sign anyone next season. You know, you'll have to get some big outs to get more to spend that kind of money again. So clearly, there's a calculated risk gone on with. Okay, we need to stay in the Premier League at all costs, kind of thing. I'm really interested to know who you think are the sort of ones to watch from that list. And is there room for a Harry Winks or a Yaphet Tanganga in there?
Listen to me. I know we've been linked with Tanganga, I think, as well. So, like I said, the problem is, like I said, you mentioned, like I said, we've got quality players, and I mentioned the 15 players, but the player that we've got to mention is young Brennan Johnson. Yeah. Scored 20 goals for us last season, and like I said, he's raw. He's a raw talent, and it's big things for him, Brennan. And there's more young players. Like I said, we've got Ryan Yates, another.
He started well as well, Brennan Johnson. I would say he started well.
Yeah, started well. He started well. Like I said, the game against Newcastle, he was. It didn't help him as well. Like I said, when it's a first time back, emotional, everything, all that. But the West Ham game, he did well as well. I know you lot hate West Ham. I know you lot were happy as well with that.
I've got to be honest. Like, it's the most pathetic rivalry in London. Like, we don't really think anything of them at all. But for some reason,
they're really just bubble blowers. Is all. They're really just bubble blowers.
That's it. Like I said, it's like Leicester. I think like the City as well. They think we're rivals, but we're just rivals, Derby County. And it's a weird one. But let's go. I'm like Brennan Johnson as well. Like I said, he scored his first goal against Everton last week. But he's a player that he's got potential, and I know, like I said, I can keep going on with the players that we've got in. Like I said, I mentioned Jesse Lingard. Everyone knows Jesse Lingard. So, but Brennan Johnson, he's the main guy that we can.
Conte, that center back that you guys signed, I think he's out for a few months. Is that a big loss, or are you kind of confident with that player? I think who's it, like Scott McKenna or someone that comes in? Yeah. I'm not sure.
Is that a loss
for you guys right away?
When he played against Newcastle and West Ham, you can tell he's going to be a fantastic player. But when I think got injured against West Ham end of the season, and the thing we hear he's out for months and months and months. But Steve Cooper, he likes to play mind games, so we don't believe him at all what he says, but in a good way. But is he a big miss? Yes, because like I said, Premier League, it's a tough one, and the way he dealt with Antonio last week against West Ham, he was great, and you need that kind of defender to deal with good players like that. So he is a massive miss, but at the same time, you mentioned about McKenna, we've got Joe Worrell. Cooper always says it's next man up, because if we say, oh, we're going to struggle, and then people's going to be good, I think mentally, defenders going to say, oh, why is Cooper's not saying that? But Cooper's, as I said, Cooper says, next man up, whoever replaces him, they've got to deal with it. So we can't be big miss, but it is what it is.
We'll see. Interesting stuff. HG, you're a player. You know a lot about players. Well, you claim to. Of the people Forest have signed, who's your sort of standy outie?
Standy outie, maybe I can't say that, but I've always been impressed with Lewis O'Brien. When I watched him play for Huddersfield, he was really, really good. And he's just one of those players that doesn't seem to do much really well, but is always doing something well. I don't know how to describe it better than that. But I do like him as a left-sided midfielder. I'm not sure if he'll work in just a 2, if they play 3-4-3, but as a competent midfielder who is actually very good at doing a bit of everything, I've been impressed with him. And I think he's only young, like 23, so he's got certainly areas to grow. But they didn't spend a great deal on him from Huddersfield. It was like 10 million for the pair. And I think both of them have come in and been first choice and looked the part. So I don't know what it is about O'Brien that I like, but I do like him.
Can I say about O'Brien? Like I said, but when he signed some Forest, actually, he was fantastic in the final for Huddersfield. And when we signed him, like I said, every Forest fans thought, okay, is he going for the Championship, for Premier League? And the Newcastle game, like I said, I think, like I said, Forest fans thought he's going to be a bench player, but the game that stood out was West Ham. Him and Mangala, two fantastic players, and he slowly grown on us and thought, yeah, okay, good signing. And then the Everton game, okay, he's stepped up, but he's got to step up in Premier League because if 30 seconds, 1 minute, if you lose it, then you've done. But O'Brien, for me, he's impressed me so far. But hopefully he carries on because, like I said, what he did for Huddersfield last season, he was great. But hopefully he can carry on for us.
And Serge Aurier incoming, I believe. I'm ready to drop that one like a nuke.
I don't know. Like I said, I know he played for Spurs, and I personally think he'd be more backup for Neco Williams. He'd be backup for Neco Williams, and I think we need that experienced player as well, just to help the back forward. Because, like I said, Neco Williams, if he gets injured, we're done. So we get Sergio back in the team as a backup. That is a big boost for us because, like I said, it's a long season. Players get injured quickly, so getting him, it's something for good for experience wise.
Irish,
and it's pretty low risk too, isn't it?
Well,
big risk.
HG says low risk. I don't know if
low risk. I mean, look, we know as Spurs fans that Aurier can make mistakes in games, but you're getting him on a free transfer. It's a couple of years contract, like a 1+1. Yeah. There's very little risk for Forest, and it's an international.
That's what Villarreal said. That's what Villarreal said until they didn't play him a game.
Villarreal are quite a bit better than Forest.
It's a low risk. Like it is a low risk because, like I said, he's coming on a free transfer. We're not expecting him to start because, like I said, we've got Neco Williams who's going to start. So he's a low risk, and can't outweigh it, man.
Man of many nicknames, Irish. Did you have one for Serge Aurier?
Yeah, Bobo. Look, I know it may sound harsh, but I thought it was a bit of a clown. I mean, walked out of the team at Liverpool at half time. Like King Huddle says there, it's low risk if you're guaranteed to give up about 15 points a season. Look, Serge Aurier can have some good games, but he switches off way too often. He's just not mentally in it, I think, a lot of the times. For me, if I was you, I'd stay well away from him. We ripped up his contract, didn't last too long at Villarreal. I think that probably tells you everything you need to know about the guy, if I'm being honest.
You never know. You don't know. He might come to Forest and change his attitude. So you never know.
Look, points.
Maybe he's a northern man. Points
are going to be hard enough to come by, let alone Serge Aurier giving them away.
Yeah,
you have to see.
We shall see. How are you going to line up then, Mr. Dorr? What 4-3-3 is it, or how are you going?
3-4-1-2. So, but the formation, like I said, we keep changing it. Like I said, we can play 4-3-3, but we always play 3 at the back. The 4 cross, Lingard will be at number 10, number 2 strikers. So you never know what. Like Steve Cooper, he likes to play man games with the media because he'll say player will be injured, play out for long term and that. So you never know. But the formation that he's been playing is, like I said, 3-4-1-2, and that's his usual formation. So this man, I'm excited. I cannot wait for Sunday. Cannot wait. But I'm buzzing. It's been a long time.
Jack, how do you think we'll line up then? I'll get this. I'll get this from you other two as well if you want to think about it.
I think we're going to go with the 3-4-3 again, but if you ask me, caller, I kind of want us to go with an extra man in the midfield, perhaps go with that 3-5-2 because, Jesse Lingard, I do see him maybe causing us some trouble. He likes to lead those counterattacks. I could see him maybe like man marking someone like Bentancur. Last time we really spoke about how hard it was to get, Højbjerg and Bentancur, on the ball and, good positions. If they kind of pack the midfield with extra players, which I think they might, Nottingham Forest, I think we should probably counter that with our own sort of like 3-5-2 or our own sort of 3-4-1-2 and maybe throw Basuma in there. But Skip might not really be back to full fitness, so you could risk one of the midfielders getting hurt. But I think we're going to go 3-4-3. I kind of want us, though, to perhaps play Basuma, Bentancur, and Højbjerg for this one.
Mm-hmm. I'd love to see Basuma start. Irish, what do you say?
No, look, I think we'll go with the usual formation. We usually play the 3-4-3. I don't see him putting an extra body in the midfield. I think Conte doesn't mind being outplayed at times in that midfield.
True.
I think he trusts the formation that he has. He'd rather be outplayed at times in midfield to gain that extra player up further up in terms of like someone like Kulu and that. So I don't mind it. And plus, I think with West Ham on Wednesday night, I think you'd be silly to put 3 players out there and expect them to complete the 90 minutes. I think you have to hold one back for the midweek game against the Bubble Merchants.
Merchants, I love it. Yeah. HG, West Ham, your least favourite London club? I know you hate Arsenal too, but you really do hate West Ham.
Least favourite? Like, maybe. I mean, obviously, I love watching Arsenal lose, and that's the biggest game of the season. And I don't really feel much for Chelsea, if I'm honest. Like, I don't like losing to them, but I don't hate them. But West Ham, it's kind of that little brother that they've really tried to get under my skin. And in a couple of ways they have, because they really genuinely think that they're on our level. And that's just sad. So when it is their cup final and you know that by winning that game, you are hurting them terribly, I quite like that. So, West Ham is probably the London team that I dislike the most, just because their current, like for a club that has the revenue they do, I mean, because they're 7th or 8th in the league, they get decent revenue, but it's still very much a tin pot outfit. You know, the silly, porter cabins at the training ground, and the fact that their stadium is, it's not really a football stadium, and yet they're with Declan Rice, they've got one player who would get poached tomorrow if teams really wanted him. And outside of that, I think they'd crumble a bit. They've got good players, West Ham, no doubt about it. And Moyes knows how to set up a team. But I enjoy when we beat West Ham because I know how much it hurts them.
See, I just wanted to.
They got a bubble for points right now.
Yeah, they have got a bubble. How do you think we can line up HG to Sunday? I should say, not tomorrow. Sunday against Forest.
Against Forest, it'll be 3-4-3. I don't doubt that at all. I think Sanchez will come in will stay in because Romero's not fully fit. Yep. I kind of want to see what I think what Irish talking about, that maybe that Bissouma will start this one. I have a feeling that now that we're going to be playing every midweek for the next 3 months, pretty much, that as much as you don't want to underestimate Forest, West Ham away is a big game, and this might be a good time to start that rotation that we all know is going to have to happen. So if Bissouma comes in and starts, I'd be okay with that. You could see another couple of changes, maybe Doherty instead of Emerson, but I think it'll be the players that you know will start on Wednesday, and I think Emerson will definitely start Wednesday. That it might be the chance for them to take a game off against Forest.
Richarlison in for Son? Anyone fancy that?
Personally, I would, because I think that 3 games, if you're not doing it, it's enough. Like last year, Son went on 3 games and didn't play particularly well, and we had little choice but to keep him in. And I think it's certainly because Antonio Conte clearly didn't really rate Bergwijn. Now he's got a player that he's signed who's raring to go. And look, it's harsh on Son. It's not that he's a bad player, but if you're not producing, it's a good time to do it. If Richarlison comes in against Forest and doesn't play particularly well, then Son will start on Wednesday night and there's no issue. But I wouldn't be surprised if it happened.
Chat, do you agree with that? Richarlison in?
Richie looked really good against Wolves. There were so many things I thought he was doing for us that I really enjoyed. It's just wasting time for us by being able to carry the ball. He was making those brave runs with the ball when he knew he had no support. He still decided to face on his man one-on-one, take it past him, kind of just be sort of a nuisance, to the Wolves back line. I could see him doing something similar to Forest, but I think you start with Son and Kane. Sonny, he's a world-class player where I think with world-class players, they sort of can kind of just turn it back on within a second, and you kind of don't want to miss that opportunity. He could end up, having a brace within the first half. That's how highly I think we all rate, Son and Kane. They can just turn it around within a second. And so maybe what you kind of consider is if Sonny's kind of still playing quite poor in the first half, you really think about like a 50th, 60th minute sort of substitution. Richarlison comes on for Son. Maybe you Son's, kind of sub Son off even earlier. Send him maybe a less of a harsh message, maybe less of a harsh message.
Do you know what? Just for me, I don't think you drop Son. I think he's one of them players, he's got more than enough credit in the bank, a bit like Harry Kane. As Jack was saying, you could turn it on any minute. And I get we brought in Richarlison and stuff like that. But for me, Son's one of them people, like, look, if his standards have dropped in training and stuff, which they haven't, because Antonio Conte said it today in his press conference, then maybe you think about dropping him. But if he's still applying the same standards and training the same way and everything else week in, week out, the way he was last season, for me, you play him. Look, you don't drop world-class players. You always play them through their form. It's average players that you drop to give them a bit of a kick up the hole. But world-class players, you just don't drop. You always play them through their form because you know they're going to come good. You know what return you're going to get out of them. For me, I think Son is maybe starting to struggle with being maybe closely monitored more than what he was in the past. Before, Sonny was able to get on the ball, run at teams and kill them. And also a lot last season, he was instructed to run in behind and we found him. And that's where he got a lot of his goals from the squad. This season, he's dropping in and he's like sort of like the target man. He's being asked to kind of get on the ball and turn. And if you look at the last 3 games, they're not giving Sonny time to get turned. They're getting right up behind him as the ball's coming into him and keeping him where he's least dangerous, which is back towards goal. And we all know Sonny's probably weakness is probably maybe a bit of his strength. And he is struggling to hold them off and try and get turned the way he wants. And that's why you're seeing his pocket being picked like it was against Southampton, where they end up scoring off. Same against Chelsea, where they end up scoring from the corner when he gave away the ball that time. And I think once he learns to adapt with being closely monitored more than what he was last season, I think Sonny will just be fine. He just needs to learn how to maybe wriggle his marker when they're pushing him back from goals.
I'm a bit tired on it, really, myself. I can see the benefit of rotating because I think I want to see Son fresh for West Ham. But by the same token, I also think Son's the kind of player you need to play till he finds his form. But Mr. Dorr, who worries you in the Spurs lineup?
You know what? Everyone keeps mentioning. I think Son. I know Harry Kane, fantastic striker, but for me, it's Son. If Son doesn't,
everybody says that. Everybody says it's Son.
If Son doesn't play if Son doesn't start on Sunday, I'll be happy. But at the same time, I want to see him play because, like I said, it's been 23 years seeing top class players at the City ground. So, me personally, I don't want Son to start because he's a great player. But at the same time, I want to see him play because he's a great player. But players like Son for me. He's class. You're not giving him not giving him enough credit for him because he's a great player. Come on, lads, give him credit to Son, man. Come on.
And you won't kick him up in the air like West Ham will. So this is probably a good point from Adrian. Put Richarlison in there to shithouse West Ham.
But the thing is,
Richie was great against Wolves. I really enjoyed, him when he came on. I thought he did, kind of show his worth, and I don't know. He hasn't been given any moments really, but that was the moment where even just what he was doing for us, Collar, to help us sort of kind of neutralize the game, sort of take a bit of the sting out of it for Wolves and whatnot. I was like, that's worth, the money that we paid alone, what he was able to do, work-wise coming off the bench.
Yeah, God, HG.
I just think that, like, some of us might believe that we have 4 world-class forwards, right? I mean, Richarlison clearly is a very, very, very good player. Maybe world-class is pushing it, but he's extremely good. And at some point, one of those is not going to play. I mean, Richarlison is not playing right now. Why have 4 very, very good players if you're not willing to ever switch it? If one person is playing bad, you say, well, we've got to keep playing him so we can start playing well again. Like, I get the logic, because it is logical. If he's not playing well, you've got to keep on playing him. But if you've got someone who's waiting on the bench, who's raring to go, who might do better,
who is good,
who is good, then why not? And again, no disrespect, it's Forest, right? It's not. This shouldn't be one of the most difficult games we have this season.
Hey, come on.
Come on, no. Forest away.
They have a good home record, HG. They have a good home record recently.
Of course they do, but it's still a promoted side.
Name, man. No. You can't say that.
I haven't said anything bad about Forest. I'm just saying that as a promoted team, they would be one of the easier games that you should expect to face. That's no disrespect. That's just fact, right? Like Forest aren't better than the mid-table teams that we have to play. They might be the same level, but they're not better than that. They're not a European side, obviously. So I just think that, like, if you every big team does this. Like, Man City don't always play De Bruyne, right? Liverpool don't always play Salah, right? Sometimes they start on the bench. And if you're looking at Spurs' fixtures, maybe Fulham, we've got Fulham at home in a couple of games, maybe that would be a time to do it. But you have to look at the fixtures and think, we've got West Ham away, which is a massive game for us. We've got a Champions League game the following midweek, which is a bigger game than Forest. It is no disrespect to Forest. It's just stating how we are.
Wait. I get your point. I get your point in saying, yeah, you've got to focus on West Ham. But let's put it right. So if you didn't play Son, Kane, or whoever against Forest and you lose, what are you going to say?
Yeah, if we do that and we lose, then we shouldn't have played. Like Forest are capable of beating whatever team we have out, but at some point you have to trust out. We have to trust our squad. The whole point of having a squad with the depth that we do is that you can change people in and out, and that includes Son, and frankly, it includes Kane as well. Kane is not going to start every single game this season, and if you're going to look at those options as to when you want to take people in and out, I don't mean it badly. Forest is one of those games you might look at and thinking this is a good time to do it.
I hear what you're saying when it comes to Son, right? But with Son, it's more of a mental thing. For me, right now, when he's going through that period, I think Conte, or he showed Tottenham a lot of loyalty by signing the contract when he did and stuff like that. And I think now is the time to maybe, when he's going through a bit of his bad spell, repay him some of that loyalty. A bit like what we've done with Harry Kane. You know, we played him through his bad spell and got to it. But with Son, I'm not sure if he has the character to be handled maybe being dropped. And look, you can sugarcoat it and say rest it all you want to Sonny. He knows it'll more so be dropped because it's been of his bad form. I think it'll have more of a negative effect on him than playing him through. Weirdly enough, world-class players, when you keep putting them out there, they will respond to that pressure. But when they're dropped, they can't handle it because they know they're one of the best players in the team and they should be out there. And on a normal week, I probably would have agreed with you, HG. But for me, I think with Sonny right now and the circumstances he's in, for me, I think you've got to play him against Forest. Try and get him out that rope before the West Ham game and hopefully bag a couple. I do agree. I'm not disrespecting Forest, but I do think we should beat them at the weekend. And Mr. Dorr, you're gonna absolutely regret not saying Harry Kane's name because he's gonna slap you.
No. Listen, I said it. Listen, Harry Kane, fantastic striker, best English striker in England, basically, right? But I just say Son can just do some kind of nothing. And with you lot saying, oh, rest him against Forest. Nah, listen to me, right? If he doesn't play against Forest, I'll be happy. But at the same time, if he's on I want to see top players at the City ground. I don't want to see him on the bench.
To be fair, you'd have Richarlison in the team who starts up front for Brazil.
Listen, get him on. Listen, we're not scared of the thing with Forest, right? We're not scared of no one. When we played against West Ham, I was scared of Declan Rice. What did Declan Rice do? He missed the penalty. With Declan Rice, he likes to.
This time you're going to be playing a big club, but yeah, I see.
I get that. But at the same time, we'll see Sunday. We'll see then after this. I
agree with the Sonny part.
When we beat your HG, on Sunday, then we'll talk. Okay. Put respect to Forest's name.
He'll be there with the away end, Mr. Dorr. Give him.
Listen, HG. Listen to me. I'll be finding you after this game. I'm thinking, HG, what did you say about Forest when we win?
All right.
We're going to turn Forest into a garden. That's what's happening on Sunday.
Irish Hotspur, he's
on the list.
You keep going.
Well, let's go predictions then. On that, I mean, this is leading nicely. A beautiful segue into predictions. Let's start with HG.
I think Spurs should have enough. 2-0 Spurs.
Okay. Mr. Dorr.
I mean, it'll be close, but we've got better strikers, and we'll probably take our chances. So I would go 2-0. It's not saying that Forest are bad. They're clearly not bad.
Follow on question, HG.
Sorry.
Follow on question, HG.
Go on.
How many Forest players will get in the Spurs team?
How many Forest players will get in the Spurs team?
Starting 11, yeah.
In the starting 11, none. Oh no! Actually, do you know what? No, yeah, none. Henderson's got a good claim.
I'm about to mention it, Henderson. How can you listen? You need to put. I know Henderson's not our player, but come on.
Oh, no, Henderson's a very good goalkeeper, but so is Hugo. Again, this is not saying that Forest are an easy game. They're not. But when you are a big club, you make those decisions and you base it on who you're playing. You do. Just look at what Chelsea do. Just look at what Man City do. They don't play the same 11 every week. And there's a reason why. And it's not because, oh, this guy's training well. No, it's because this guy's a bit knackered or this guy's not playing well. That's why they change things up.
170 of you watching right now. If you're enjoying this chat as much as me, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and keep enjoying. Let us know you're here in the chat. Mr. Dorr, same question to you. How many Forest players would get in the Spurs starting 11?
All of them. All of them.
And the prediction, obviously.
Listen, let's keep it real. Spurs are a fantastic team. You've got quality players all around. I did say 3-1 to Spurs, but I'm changing it. If Spurs don't play Son, he's
gotten rattled.
You don't rattle me. No one does. Hates you trying to rattle me, but he's not working. He's trying it. Listen to me. I'd like to put Spurs on quality side. Let's keep it real, and I think Spurs will win. Just. I think
we'll take that happily. A just
win.
I
won't. I'm not. But yeah, Spurs side. Spurs. I think Spurs win 2-1.
Okay, Jack, follow that.
I feel like this is the game where I'd like to see Spurs grab, maybe a convincing win. Then again, they have a good record, Forest at the City Ground, especially recently. I think they've in like the last 17 or something kept like 10 clean sheets or like more than 10 clean sheets, which I actually think is something I think our own defense would be quite happy to probably see.
Listen to what Jack's saying. 70 clean sheets. I hope you're listening.
Yeah, I think I'm trying to build yourself up. I'm trying to build yourself up only to take you down here. Sometimes I don't trust our defense to always get a clean sheet, but I'll actually go instead of 2-0, I'll go 3-0 just because I find Kulusevski being that extra person that could cause them some problems. I think Kulusevski is that third sort of forward. And also, I believe that left-hand side with Niakate being gone, I don't know anything about Harry Toffolo or their other, Scott McKenna, but I feel like Kulusevski could cause those guys some problems because he's not like every other winger with pace. He has the skills as well as the strength.
Has got the skills to pay the bills. And how many Forest players will get in the Spurs starting 11?
I really like Emerson, but if I were to join the Emerson hate train, they would probably throw Neco Williams maybe ahead of Emerson.
Okay. Irish, your turn.
Look, Forest, I believe they are, like Jack was saying, they're very good at the City Ground. What is it, 13 in the last 16, I think they've won at the City Ground. They bet some Premier League opposition there. Small clubs like Arsenal, Leicester, West Ham at the start of this season. But look, at the end of the day, the big dogs are in town. And when the big dogs are in town, everyone gets excited. I'm no doubt the Forest fans will be absolutely up for it. It'll be a good raucous atmosphere. Now, look, Tottenham, we know, do not start well first 10, 20 minutes. I think it's a bit of a tactic on Conte. He likes to maybe relinquish possession, give the opposition a bit of confidence and get them to draw them out. So maybe we can hit them on the counter. So I think with the atmosphere, with the big boys coming, I think with Tottenham maybe not usually starting games well, I would say if we survive the first 20 minutes, we'll just grow into the game and we'll absolutely dominate. We'll turn the City Ground into the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium by the end of it, in my opinion. And look, I mean, Carl, you should have a side job as a comedian. I mean, not one Forest player gets into the City or into the Spurs team whatsoever. Honestly, Forest should be nicknamed the Misfits. I mean, Dave Harris, my great namesake, he says, Forest are short of buying his couch on eBay. I mean, it's probably true. So for me, and I think they'll regret not giving Harry Kane the respect he deserves. He's got a new haircut. It'll be nothing better than seeing him galloping across the City Ground with the wind flowing through his hair. Perfect volume. New shampoo from Harrods as well. Strawberry scented. That guy's going to be on form. And for me, I'm going to go with a nice 3-0. I think we keep a clean sheet.
Irish Hotspur, you need to put some respect on Forest as well, man. This is not looking good, is it? You know what? If we beat you lot,
they haven't been here in 20 years.
Like I said, Spurs are a good side, but like I said, it's not going to be an easy game for you lot. Like I said,
check out the channel for all that Forest love, my man. If you enjoyed, the love we showed you, check out the channel. Click the red subscribe button. It only happened once. Only happened once. The love we show for us only happens once.
I mean, I'll have my say now. I think. Sorry, I don't think anyone from Forest gets in the Spurs 11. That's just a fact, unfortunately, as they are right now. You probably need to sign another 15 players before you get close to that. But I'm going to say it's going to be a really tough game. City Ground is a tough place to go and play football. It's Sunday at 4 p.m, which is good because I hate a lunchtime kickoff. We always struggle to get going in those. I think we're going to scrape a 2-1, 3-2 win. I can see Lingard causing us problems. I really can, especially with Sanchez at right centre back. Worries me because he's a liability basically. But yeah, that's what I reckon. I've got one last question for you, Mr. Dorr.
Yeah,
you going to stay up?
Yeah.
Steve Cooper's done a cracking job. So, what would your bottom three be in your opinion this season? You can't say Spurs.
I think Bournemouth. I know Fulham just started really well, but I personally think they'll go down. I did say Leeds, but I said they started well as well. But for me, after playing Everton last season, if they keep Lampard, they're in trouble. They're in trouble because, like I said, I like Lampard as a player, but as a manager, he's awful. I know he's got his Derby connection as well, but sorry, after Wayne Forest played, like I said, we expect, like I said, we expected to Everton to beat us because I'm not saying Spurs are the same bracket as Everton. There was back in the day, but now Spurs have gone to the next level. Everton are on the next level now. But it's just Everton are poor. So for me personally, Everton will go down if they carry on with Lampard.
I'd agree. I think Cooper keeps you up actually.
Yeah,
like, more so than your signings because I've got to be honest. Your most expensive one from Wolves. What's his name?
Gibbs White.
Morgan Gibbs White. I forgot him as well. Like the thing was, like I said, the thing was to do with Cooper. Like I said, he's a fantastic manager, and everyone knows the story. Like he come to Forest, we were bottom of the league. I was thinking about League One football. I'm not going to lie, and for him to get from the bottom of the league to the playoff, to the playoff final, and to win there, it's something that all Forest fans were still pinching ourselves. How the hell did that happen? And now we're winning Premier League. We brought in 105, 150 players. Listen to me, we're here to stay. We're here to stay, and we are going to rattle some cages. And I hope Forest rattle Spurs. So come back on the channel and tell you lot to hush your gums. But it is what it is.
I also, this is crazy to me. You've just said that you thought Everton would beat you, despite us being 2 levels better than Everton, and now you're getting annoyed that we've all said that we'll beat Forest.
No. What I'm trying to say about, like, let's keep it real. I'm saying Everton, like two or three seasons ago, were Everton not a good side?
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
What's that got to do now?
Would you expect Everton to beat Forest?
Not the Everton that we've got right now. No. It was a good point for Forest because it was a really good finish from Johnson.
No. We should have won that. They should have won that. If you watch the game, Forest should have won that because the first 15 minutes, Everton were good, but then we took control of the game. And yes, we scored with Brennan Johnson, and I mentioned it earlier on the show.
You switched off on the Pickford thing.
We switched off. You can't do it in Premier League. I was gutted at the end, saying we should have won that match. But it's a Premier League. If you get a point, if you take a point away from home, we'll take that. But my point is, like I said, Everton, they're established Premiership team. Do I think they'll go down? If Frank Lampard gets sacked in December, I can think and they get a better manager in, they won't go down. But right now, they will. And I'm saying, a long time ago, Everton and Spurs were together. Spurs have gone there, Everton have gone downhill, and that's my point. I'm not saying
no, you guys are better than Everton.
Right now we are. Right now we are. But I'm saying Everton are an established club. Everton are an established Premiership club, and that's my point.
Mr. Dorr, I know you've got to get off to your next show. I just want to thank you for being on. And if any of our viewers, 188 watching right now, want to find you, come and check out defeat review.
Listen to me right. I hope I'm looking forward to it, people. I'm looking forward to the game, and like I said, I can't wait for the win on Sunday. So if we do win, HJ, I'm coming for your neck because I'm not having it. Like I said, we'll make a battle, and
we'll have you back Monday if you win. How's that? I never do that.
Listen to me. It's a free hit.
But I'll let you pop in for 10 minutes on Monday.
Yeah, and I'm gonna put the HG face on it. What did you say? If we win. So, but yeah, boy, thank you for having me on. And like I said, I'm looking forward to the game on Sunday.
Pleasure to meet you.
Good to meet you.
Right, cheers, boys. Peace and love.
Take care, man.
Take care.
Yeah, I'd say
He
good
was a
luck
good
Sunday,
sport.
but I don't mean it. He's a great guy, wasn't he? What a great guy! I mean, I'm going to check his defeat review out when it comes out.
We're all looking forward to it.
We're all looking forward to it. It's a bit interesting bit of insight actually as well. I do love doing these shows with away fans, especially when they're decent, not like that Man City like we had. That is going to be a problem. What decent Man City fan can we get on this season? Because
hard to find them. Very few and far between.
Yeah, I know. Tell me about it. Were you on that show last
library?
Year? Were you on that show? I can't remember. It was the show where I think HG got called racist, bigoted, and everything else or something, didn't you? For calling them all oil people.
Yeah. I said, yeah, whatever I said. It's a long time ago.
I can tell it brings back good memories for
Absolutely. Right, we'll talk about Harry Winks. Or is it too early?
Go on, get it out. Get it out. Just do it now. In case it doesn't happen.
I'm so happy. Can I just say, Harry Winks, he's a Tottenham boy. He can volley a tea bag in a cup. I'm really pleased about all of those things. But I'm really happy that another crab is being removed from our midfield. And I couldn't be happier. It's been a long time coming, but Winks, you're going down. Anyone
I think, Cauley, do you not want to have a lads' weekend in like Genoa? We'll go and watch him play for Sampdoria.
The only thing I know about Sampdoria is I used to watch it sometimes on, do you remember the Italian football when it was Gazza was out there and it was Lazio, Italiano, and all of that business, yeah? Those were the days. That's the only thing I know about Sampdoria. I saw him a couple of times then, so I've no idea.
So what city does Sampdoria play in?
You just told me it was Genoa, so I hope
I wasn't sure.
Good job, I was paying attention.
The part, I think you touched on something, where it's like, yes, maybe compared to the likes of Gio, Tanguy, etc., that sort of failed us, not only as players, but also failed us because, they cost us big transfer fees. Harry Winks didn't really cost us anything. Then again, I think he did cost us some things because he cost us some huge results. He was a starting player, if not the focal point in some of the most atrocious, if not embarrassing performances I think I've had in my lifetime as a Spurs fan. As much as I think we all want to say we love Harry Winks, the most embarrassing, the most, kind of nightmarish performances, I can tell you he started in every single one of those. But as well, I must say, this is where I want to get onto something before we kind of just go on the Harry Winks hate train. This is not going to be a Harry Winks sort of hate, kind of comment. I just have to kind of get this off my chest here, caller. I was sort of laughed at, if not, kind of maybe called mean and whatnot for saying I didn't think Harry Winks would even go for more than, 10 million. I actually at the time was being quite nice, by saying he would go for somewhere around 10 million. I was told by pretty much everybody under the sun that he would be sold this summer for around 10, 15 million, 20 million is what, because he's English, homegrown, etc. I could have bet my, whatever money I have, which is none, on him not going for an actual transfer fee. I even said, I think on the Irish's channel, maybe even on this channel too, that I anticipated he would go for a loan, maybe with an option to buy, sort of situation. But I think we've all agreed on, people that aren't the biggest Harry Winks fans, if you were the buying club of a Harry Winks, what do you actually think you're getting from? Because he's only played for one club. He's not played well for that one club. He's only played well, for a certain time period in a certain year. He's basically sat and warmed the bench, which means he's not really getting it any better. He's not really improving or developing in any sense whatsoever. It's not like he really brings experience, if you ask me, because again, he was sitting on the bench. So what experience is he really getting being on the bench? I just find that, people were kind of kidding themselves when they thought he actually would go for a transfer fee of more than like 10 million. In fact, I even thought a club would be a fool if they even bought him for a transfer fee at all. But again, I just want to say, I maybe want to ask for some apologies, maybe just want to ask for a bit of respect on the name, just because I do remember a lot of people actually scoffing, if not thinking I was being quite harsh for saying that he would only go for a loan and no one would ever buy him for a transfer fee. And I think, we've been proven right in that regard.
You certainly needed to get that off your chest, chat.
I did that. And it's not even Harry Winks hate train. It's actually Harry Winks. It's more actually me talking about the fans that sort of gave Harry Winks more credit than he deserved, or more credit than actually, not even more credit he deserved, just over-evaluating his actual worth, his actual worth. That's what ended up happening.
He gets a lot of love because he's a Spurs boy, doesn't he?
Yeah, but I think we were kidding ourselves when we were saying Gio for 20 million, Harry Winks for 20 million. People were saying that, and it was like, if Gio's going for 20 million, Harry Winks isn't going for 20 million. And I don't know. It's just nice to see that maybe I was proven right, maybe on that sort of regard with the loan situation. And also, no one wanted Harry Winks. No one wanted him, clearly.
What if in this loan deal there's a 20 million buy release clause? What then?
If Sampdoria have 5 years worth of revenue, that's probably their 5-year revenue. Spectrum is 20 million. If they want to spend 5 years of revenue on Winks, so be it.
Irish, I think you probably share my view on Harold. Do you not?
Yeah, of course I do. I mean, look, I was on this show last year. I was actually with HG and that guy from Sky Sports, Mr. Weir. Can't remember. There was someone else on with us. I spoke about Giovanni Lo Celso. I spoke about Dele Alli, Ndombele, Harry Winks. And a lot of people thought I was coming across harsh at the time. But I hope now that when you see the better players coming into Tottenham and you see that what they were producing at the time, hopefully people understand why I was so harsh on these players. Because I could foresee what way they were going to turn out, especially in Winks' case. I mean, look, this was a guy that when he came through, Pochettino liked him to Iniesta and Xavi from Barcelona, compared them. He's more like, Ian and Xavi are from fucking League Two. You know what I mean? He's just nowhere near good enough. You say to people, the Winks apologists, what is he good at? Oh, he's good at passing the football. All he does is he's a stat pad merchant. Goes to 5 yards to the player, picks it up, passes it straight back to him. Jamie Carragher done a whole expose on him after that City game that time, on Harry Winks, on why he wasn't good enough. And unfortunately, look, credit to him, he made it to professional level. He's playing for, his boyhood club. But there comes a point where he's just not good enough. He's 26 years of age. In fact, I would argue he's lucky that he's been allowed to go out on loan. I would have cancelled his contract a long time ago. Now, I know he's not in the category of like a Dele Alli, Lo Celso, and an Ndombele with their attitudes and stuff like that. He's always sort of had a decent attitude, but there's more to the game than having a decent attitude. And people say, oh, well, I liked Winks, he didn't complain when he was back up. We're very quick to forget the press conference he done in the Europa League last year after, the Vitesse game, where he's moaning, I need to be playing week in, week out, to get my best form. I mean, it starts by you taking a minute you're given, first of all. And for me, Real Madrid, there's probably another 1 or 2 good games in there he's had over the course of his Tottenham career. But he's just never been good enough for Tottenham. There's always been a massive void in midfield. And when you see teams pressing him the way they have done as soon as he gets the ball, that's your weak link. And for me, I think it just signals the end of mediocrity at Tottenham. I think it signals a part of the bunch that got us from Champions League final to Europa Conference League. I'm glad to see them all being shipped out slowly by Don Paratici. The work that guy is doing is incredible. And I was along with Jack. I was saying to people, people saying, Winks, 20 million in the bag. Who are we going to spend it on? Sitting there like, who's going to be interested in Winks? What manager in world football, bar the Sampdoria manager now, is going to look at his midfield and say, do you know what? I have a problem with winning ball. I have a problem with, not enough passing in the midfield, or no expansive passing midfield. Harry Winks is my guy to fill that void. And I've been vindicated with when I used to say that.
No,
because,
never.
But there was no interest in the guy, none whatsoever. And that's why he's out at Sampdoria, So for me, I do hope it works out, and I hope he plays well. I do hope you and HG get your boys' weekend out there. I mean, everyone needs one of them. But for me, I do hope it works out because I want the cash next summer. I really do.
I hope that we get a bit of money from him. I hope he rebuilds his career. Like I don't wish the guy any harm, or I don't hate him or anything like that, contrary to what a lot of people think. I can't hate someone I don't know. I always say that. He's a Spurs boy, and the bottom line is he's done his best, but his best isn't good enough. So close the door on your way out, and cheerio. I
also want to add quickly, I do think Tottenham had their part to play in Winks not developing into the player he has, because when you look at his early years, he was getting contract after contract after contract. You sit there, for what?
Thought they had a player. No, they thought they had a player, didn't they? And he was a bit of Poch's love child, I think.
But even when he was missing lots of seasons through, like, he's missing big chunks of the season through injury. End of the season, new contract. Why? What did you do to deserve it? And I think when you're giving players these contracts, you make them feel comfortable. And all of a sudden, they start to feel comfortable in the environment. They feel like they've made it. And there's no need for them in their own head to keep pushing on. I think Tottenham played their part in Harry Winks maybe not developing as well with the contract situation. Because I think, what was it? In the first 5 years, I think he got 3 new contracts or something like that. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
HG, final word on Winks. I'll give it to you. You're the most balanced one here on Winks, I think.
Caller, you sustained yourself. Real good host, I must say. It seemed like you restrained yourself on this one. I would say.
There's a little bit of me that goes, it ain't signed and sealed. I can't get the party poppers and the moe out.
You can fail the medical.
The moe. Yeah.
No, look, I think. Oh yeah, it's actually a weird situation.
Fuck the moe. We're having Dom Perignon the day he goes. Anyway, HG, sorry.
But with Winks, it's funny. Everyone's talking about how we want him to, get his career back on track. Let's be honest. The three of you want him to get his career back on track so we can sell him for good money next summer, right? So it's one of those weird things that I've always thought that with Winks, he needs a true defensive midfielder next to him, right? Someone who's going to do the dirty work that he can't. Right, and if you can do that, if you find someone who'll do that, then you might see a better version of him. But we haven't had a defensive midfielder really until the start of last year when Højbjerg came in, and it wasn't really working then either. Sorry,
this guy's drunk.
Forest, yeah, must be. Forrest Gump, that is clearly. It is interesting because there's always that. Everyone shows that tackle that Dyer made against Spain when we beat him 3-2 and he put Sergio Ramos on the ground. This is peak England, this is peak Dyer. Well, Winks was his midfield partner that night, which is crazy to think. But I just think that Winks, for whatever reason, and there are reasons with Poch failing and Mourinho being defensive and Nuno coming in, none of those managers really suited Winks. Once Poch gone, he was kind of out on a limb. And so you were hoping that maybe he was going to be able to adapt to what the managers were wanting, but we knew that he never could. And the way that Conte wants to play, it doesn't really suit him either because they're being asked to do a bit of everything in midfield. So it's all about finding the right team. I believe that. So Sampdoria, I don't know enough about Sampdoria to know whether he'll go to Italian football and be a better player there, but the style of football would probably suit him more than the Premier League does. And so, yeah, we all want him to sit with, I don't have any bad feelings towards any Spurs player that's left, really. Okay, Campbell. Campbell's the only one. I want them to do well. I do. It's just when someone's been a Spurs player for so long, there's life's too short to try and hope that other people do badly. So I just want him to go out there and enjoy playing football. He gets to live in flipping Genoa. That's a pretty nice place to live. And yeah, I hope it works out for him if he goes. If he doesn't go, I'll just be laughing at you, Caller, for the next 2 weeks.
Well, I haven't fully celebrated it yet. We're going to have Winks mind when he does. Hot on the heels of Lamella mind, and who was it this season we had? We had someone else. Who else left?
This season?
Yeah.
Stephen Bergwijn, Gio has left.
Carter Vickers,
Jack Clark.
That's what it was. I think
Jack
Clark mind. We did Clark mind.
Yeah.
I just want to take that comment from Paulie there where he says, toxic comments are kind of disgraceful. Well, I think some of the performances that guy has put in the Tottenham jersey are disgraceful, if I'm being quite honest. And I think some of the losses we've had to endure with him being in midfield have been disgraceful as well. So it works both ways too.
I think there's a big difference between being honest and not hateful and toxic. The two, you can be honest and say what you think without being toxic. I don't think you're being toxic, to be honest.
I think even my comments were more addressed actually towards the fans that over-evaluated Winks. That's not even, a slight on Winks. It's actually just fans over-evaluating their own players. Sometimes when we talk about transfers, especially when it comes to our own players, we like to think that some sucker will come in for 20 million for whatever player that hasn't played for Spurs in a really long time. We don't ever put ourselves in the shoes of the buying club.
Eric Ten Hag. Eric Ten Hag, you know you want to. He's basically the English De Jong. You know you want to.
We're going to get
you can't rule it out, can you? That's the theory.
That's really all my argument was. All my argument was just, put yourself in the buying club's shoes. Think about, what they're buying, how much money they have and how much they have to spend on. Would they really pay the 15 to 20 million that most fans are saying that they should go for? Absolutely not.
The only thing I'd say is, it's gone a little bit mental, mainly thanks to Ten Hag lately. I mean, I've got a note here, and I want to come back to something, but 100 million Anthony at Man United, laugh out loud, is what I've got in the run sheet. Like the guy is literally Ten Hag. He's on the backhander from Ajax. That is the only thing me and HG put our heads together. It's the only way this is possible. Like, he's done it at Ajax, which is a farmers' league. Let's be really honest. And they're in the box seat. I don't blame Ajax. They are literally trolling Man United.
They'll replace
51 million out of them for a 5'9" centre back. 51 million out of them for a 5'9" centre back. Yeah, he's going to get battered when it comes up against forwards like Kane and the like. And now they want 100 million for Anthony. HG, tell us, Ten Hag, while I just go get a beer, another beer. While I just go get a beer, tell us what you think about Ten Hag and these backhanders he's getting Ajax, because he is, isn't he?
Spin his whole club proud.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense for everyone, right? He's helping Ajax out. Ajax are helping him out. Everyone's a winner apart from Man United, which seems to be Man United's modus operandi. Like everyone wins apart from us. I'm happy to see what's happening at Man United. I was thrilled that they beat Liverpool because everyone thought that Man United were now back when clearly it was down to Liverpool having no midfield. That's insane to me that everyone thought, Man United played so well. No, they just took a couple of chances, but they didn't really play well. Once Liverpool finally got things sorted in midfield, it was a case of Liverpool trying to score, and they got one. So Eric Ten Hag, like people who have watched this show for a long time know that I didn't want him. When we were linked with him, I really didn't want him. I didn't think he was good enough. I don't necessarily think that the Dutch league is a farmers' league, weirdly, because they've got some very, very good players that come through. But Ajax are the club in Holland. Almost anyone can win a league title at Ajax in Holland. Like when teams, I think when Feyenoord won it a few years ago, Van Bronckhorst was the manager, right? Yeah. And Van Bronckhorst has proven since to then go on and be a decent manager, taking Rangers into the Champions League. Yeah. That shows you something. Like I was more impressed by Van Bronckhorst winning the Dutch league once with Feyenoord than I am with Ten Hag winning it 4 times with Ajax. Yeah. Ajax are set up to dominate, and no one. If you think about the money they're getting from Man United, that those 2 players, that doubles their revenue for the whole year. They should
win it for the next 10 years, but the money
they receive. Exactly. So it's almost the stronger that Ajax get, and they should get stronger because they'll just hoover up almost all of the good Dutch talent. It will just continue. But Ten Hag, it's funny. I made a comment about his tan suit. Wore a tan suit to his unveiling. It's just like it just doesn't. It screams man from Del Monte. It doesn't scream serious football manager. And then was it Simon Jordan who came on and said something about his suit in the Liverpool game that it was ill-fitting? And I'm sitting there, and I don't want to agree with Simon Jordan, but like after a point, you just think how you look matters. Like you have to kind of project some kind of confidence, and he doesn't.
I agree.
He's very laid back. I literally live in Holland, right? Like if you don't live in Amsterdam or Rotterdam, it's a farm country. Like it's very Catholic in the south. There's not much going on. He's from the east of the country, where there's really not that much that happens. It's nice, but it's very sedate. And I just think that going from that, when you know that even when he was Ajax manager, he didn't live in Amsterdam. His family was still in the east of Holland, and he would travel to and from. I wonder that Manchester, with all the media that's going on, it's very much sink or swim for him. And I hope he swims long enough to keep him there. I think they'll give him the whole year. I do, because there's really unless they want to throw the keys to Pochettino, who else is there? I think they'll give him the year, especially once they've spent 160 million on a couple of players that he wanted. So I don't know what you two feel, but I just I like seeing Man United struggle, and it's not. Go on. Sorry, I'll stop talking.
No, I was going to say
that was great. Honestly, I enjoyed that, HG. I enjoyed that.
I think you're absolutely spot on with a lot of what you said. If I'm being honest, I think United are probably in the same boat where Arsenal were when they signed Arteta. Look, this guy is actually one of Guardiola's disciples. He worked underneath him at Bayern Munich that time and stuff. And I was saying this to Jack not so long ago. Actually, same thing as you. It's well and good doing it in the Dutch league, but how many times have we seen players? We've seen that guy that took over Palace that time come to the Premier League and they just struggle. I mean, we've seen it ourselves. Vincent Janssen, prime example. And there's a big difference. Like with Ajax, they can play the way they want in the Dutch league, but in the Premier League, Erik ten Hag's football, where he likes to play off in the back into that midfielder, it'll get caught onto very, very quickly in the Premier League, and it's very similar to what that guy tried to implement at Crystal Palace that time when he was shipped out of there after 7 games. And for me, I think I agree with you. I actually think United have no option but to stick with this guy. The money they're paying on these players, that 5'9" guy from Ajax, that young wing-back they brought in from the Dutch league. I mean, you've got to question your Manchester United. You're used to bringing in the best players from the Premier League and all over Europe, and they're returning to the Dutch league, and that's home comforts for this guy. And I get why he's doing it. He wants to bring in players that are going to do what he wants them to do. Whereas them players at United have proven they do what they want to do. Will they respect this guy? I'm not so sure. He's done a great job at Ajax, but Premier League is a different ballgame, and especially Man United. Eventually, he will cave. I like HG. I hope he stays on just enough to keep them mediocre, and for us to beat them. And then after that, I don't care what happens.
Wow. And just like that, the Ten Hag hatred can end. No, it is a joke. I can't believe what's going on there, if I'm being really honest. But let's just enjoy it. Let's just enjoy it.
See what oversized suit he wears next time.
This is what happens when you get recruitment wrong.
He looks like the man from Del Monte and all the Sky cut thing, the cut suit, because he wore that awful suit on the. Unbelievable. I can't believe this though. There's 202 people watching and only 82 likes. So come on, smash that like button up. We really need you to do so. Let's talk transfers. So obviously we've talked Winksy. Gone. Oh, yes. Reguilon. Looks like Reguilon is potentially on his way to either Italy or Fulham. I've got here, HG. I'm a bit sorry about Reguilon going, if I'm honest. He doesn't fit into the camp as the others for me.
Yeah, I mean, sorry. I mean, I guess if Conte doesn't want him, then that's that. I mean, it's awfully that simple, but it is that. Look, I think if I'm
worse than Sessegnon, though.
No, but look, I think Sessegnon is probably more willing to listen. I don't know what Reguilon said. Probably said something, but I feel as if I'm Reguilon, I've got 3 years left on my deal at Spurs. If no massive club comes in for him, willing to pay what Spurs are willing to pay, then a loan is the best option for him. And going to Fulham, since he won't have to move home, is certainly the best option for him. Yeah. So as much as, was it Lat I saw him linked with, or, even today, I think John talked about him going to Atletico Madrid. He's a Real boy. So that would be a weird one too. I just think Fulham makes a lot because, again, I like their left back because he's the American left back. Robinson, I think he's a good player, but it does make Fulham's squad stronger. There's no doubt about that. So if it works for them, then great. But I agree with you. It's a sad one with Reguilon because as much as he wasn't pulling up trees as a wing back, he certainly wasn't awful as a wing back. He would give you sevens, but what you'd remember is him getting into really good positions and fluffing his lines. You wouldn't remember
even the story.
I think
even the story wasn't it the case that he was even sort of a last minute buy, at the time, under Jose, we didn't even think about, buying him. And then we sort of just got him because there was an opportunity there, which I think sort of maybe puts a bit of positivity on the Reguilon kind of transfer originally, because that would have meant then under that Jose season where he got sacked, it would have been Ben Davies, all season, which I don't think would have gone very well for us, considering Ben Davies, sort of abilities at left back versus Reguilon. So I'm kind of with you. I think there's a good player in there still.
The interesting thing is that we all saw the season before we made the signings of Reguilon and Doherty, we saw that Mourinho liked to kind of have, the 3 centre back and push 1 full back forward. And so when we signed Doherty, we were like, great, he's going to be better at that than Aurier was. because he was an attacking back at Wolves. And that was where we were going, and then signed Reguilon, and it was like, oh, well, now we've got a guy on the left who can do that. And we were kind of caught in the two because Doherty couldn't defend, didn't want to sit back. And so who else did we have at that point? No, maybe Tanganga. That's probably why he came through. So you just feel that it was one of those, hey, the opportunity's there. He's a good player. Let's do it. When actually he didn't fit what Mourinho wanted to do. It was just Spurs or Levy, maybe, thinking, I'm going to sign a Europa League winner here, someone who's proven himself at the highest level or very high levels. But it's a weird one because he's too good for Fulham, but he will get hopefully regular football for him, and that's probably what he wants. So it will work hopefully for everyone.
I think when Conte weighed it up, I think he looked at it and I think he knew he had to upgrade in that left wing back position regardless this summer. I think in his mind, and he weighed it up just after maybe the January transfer window closed. And then he weighed it up. He looked at Session and Reguilon. He's like, look, Reguilon's, he's 26 now. Session's 22, 4 years difference. And I think when you look at their output, it's more or less the same. And I think when you look at Reguilon, he gets into all the right positions. And I agree with you, Colin. I mean, he gets into great positions, but he just, HG, he gets into great positions, but he does not finish. And that's his biggest problem. And when I think he looked at Session, he weighed it up. I think he looked at Session as someone that he can develop and potentially has more potential in him. And then bringing in Perisic signal at the end of Reguilon, but then also bringing in Destiny or Djed. I know he's been put back on loan. But there's a guy now putting pressure on Session, and probably putting the pressure on Session to develop this year into the player that Conte wants. So I think it's probably a smart move by Conte. I think a lot of Spurs fans were frustrated with the wing-back areas last season. And I think when you weigh up the wing-back positions and you look at what Perisic brings and the numbers he got in the Inter Milan team, we all knew that was the standard that Reguilon and Session have to hit to play in a Conte team. And when he looked at it, I don't think he ever thought maybe Reguilon could hit that stand. And I think that's probably why he opted to let Reguilon go. But I think, me personally, I think it's a bit harsh on that guy. I think he came in, he was a massive upgrade on Ben Davies at the time at that position. I think he offered us a lot, but somewhere along the way, he lost his way. And we also have to remember under Mourinho, Reguilon wasn't missing at times, and Mourinho was frustrated with the guy. And I think Conte may have been the same, with Reguilon somewhere along the line where he's maybe frustrating him a little. And with Conte, you don't get too many chances. If you don't do what he wants you to do, you're gone. And I just question how much behind the scenes does Reguilon want to do to go through them paces? How much does he want to buy into what Antonio Conte is trying to do? Whereas Session is impressionable more so than Reguilon. He might have looked at it as well. And am I up for that workload? And I think he'd be happy to move on out of Tottenham, if I'm being quite honest. I think it's sad to see him go because I don't think he's been bad for Tottenham, but it is what it is at the end of the day. I trust what Conte wants to do.
I got a lot of love for Reggie. I think he's a decent player, and I will wish him well.
What Kev says, absolutely.
He's not a winger, he's a fullback. But I think the other thing is, if you look at the profile of a Conte player, he doesn't fit it. He's not tall enough. He's not physical enough. Sessignon is a big lad. He's a big, powerful unit. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think he still gets pushed off the ball sometimes a bit too softly. But he's a big guy. Everyone Conte seems to want over 6 foot, fairly stocky, powerful. And I think Sessignon fits into that. I don't know how tall Reguilon is, but maybe he's smaller on telly, a bit like
5'10", 5'11".
Yeah, I'd say about that. But he's like 3 stone wet through. He is a really slight guy. tiny legs.
Would you say Session was maybe kept as well because he's a better defender than Reguilon? Because you did see Reguilon at times. It was very easy, skinned by at times, pushed off the ball at times in certain areas. Whereas Session, you've seen him against likes of Liverpool, City and stuff like that, and they really stood up in them games. Do you think maybe that had something to do with it as well?
Definitely. Where I lose it with Reggie, right, what really frustrated me was he'd go down easily, but then he'd feign a foul. And be like slamming the ground and going, it's all someone else's fault, rather than standing up, taking accountability, or getting up and trying to recover his position, trying to put the tackle in. And I think that probably pisses Conte off as well, to be perfectly honest, because that's not what you want to see from your players. It does my head in when players do that. We've got one doing it. I can't remember who I was on at the other day doing it.
Probably Kulusevski, wasn't it? in the
probably
Chelsea
was,
game when he
actually.
kind of did
Probably
it a
was.
couple of times.
He did it a couple of times, and it nearly cost us. It did cost us the goal. Actually, he got literally pushed off the ball, moaned that he didn't get a foul. Well, it was never a foul. You could see he just got muscled out of it, and it's the same sort of thing. So it does really irritate me, to be honest, when he does that. So yeah, I'm glad he's gone. I've come full circle.
On Reguilon as well, guys, do you think he will actually bring cash value to us this summer rather than having to loan him out? Maybe with the likes of what we had to do with Winks, Lascelles, and Annabelle, but this guy you can actually get cash for.
I think the problem is that teams in Europe are skint when you compare. If you can sell him to Forest, then maybe. Jokes aside, the Premier League is the place to sell him if you want money. I just don't think anyone's got. I mean, Real Madrid are pretending they've got cash, and Barcelona are pretending they've got cash. But pretty much none of the other big sort of European teams are spending tons of money. Premier League, however, you've got the likes of. It's ridiculous. You've got the likes of Forest blowing 140, 150 million quid.
All of these players we want to shift, well, it's a buyer's market. Like, even if I was running Juventus, right, and looking at Reguilon as an option, I'm not offering money to get him permanently. I'll do a loan deal and, try before you buy type thing. Like, there's very little desire, I think, for anyone to go out and spend money on Reguilon. And even from Reguilon's point of view, I don't think he wants to make that call. Like, if you're going to decide the next 3, 4, 5 years of your career, you want to sign for a big club. You don't want to sign for someone who's just looking to take you on loan. So I just think it works for everyone that he goes. Yeah. We might love to see him go for 30 million. It's not going to happen. So the next best thing is a loan deal for every. I think for the player as well.
I do think he is a 20. I do think he's a 20 million plus player. I do think he's not like a Winks. That's a fantasy land, really.
But when you look at what some players go for, you just need one, don't you? Because, did any of us really think that Neco Williams was worth 15 million after playing 20 games for Liverpool? No.
And the lad from Wolves who Forest has signed for 28 plus 20. Yeah. So my dad said he's hardly played. I mean, he's like one season.
You just need one. You just need one.
Yeah.
And weirdly enough, I think when Spurs fans looked around the Premier League and you look at, Everton don't have a central midfielder. They've been playing flipping Iwobi there. And Southampton have had to buy a couple of youngsters. And Crystal Palace have played Schlupp there. Like, you look around and you think, look, Winks is no great shakes, but a squad player at Spurs should be a squad player at a different Premier League team, considering that we're top 4, top 5. It's an interesting one. But yeah, obviously these teams have decided that if they did want him, it was on loan.
There's your one. 60 million for Gordon. I mean, that's absolute scandal. It's just unbelievable.
It's ridiculous.
It does make me laugh. One season of COVID, everyone's losing money. Next season, with the Premier League, literally blowing.
Where did that come from?
It's unbelievable.
Just after, what did they have to furlough? Staff members. They couldn't afford, to even pay the basic paycheck, for the janitor. But now they're paying 60 million for Anthony Gordon.
That's right. We had to furlough the cleaners and people at the stadium, but all of a sudden we've had £150 million cash injection of net spend of 75 million.
Can someone tell me how much Everton paid for Maupay? Because I know he went there today. Do we know how much it was?
I don't know. Actually, probably a loan though in Everton, isn't it?
I don't know. I don't think so. I think he signed a 3-year deal.
7 sitters missed, I think, whatever they paid.
Yeah, exactly. But with Everton, if they do need to sell Gordon, then taking 60 million, of course, you understand they're going to do it. But what are they going to do with that money?
15 million quid.
15 million. So
that's a bargain because I rate Maupay. I think he's a good player.
So, but that's what they obviously decided to do. Like, sold Richarlison because they kind of had to, but the Gordon thing they don't really have to. He's one of the kind of fan favorite because he's a homegrown talent and all the rest of it. But for 60 million, you take it and you then try to build the team in other areas. I don't know where they'll go, but they clearly need a central midfielder, bearing in mind they're playing and flipping Iwobi there.
Yeah. I just don't want that 60 million to come from Tottenham because when I look at Gordon, look, I think there's a player there with great potential, but he could very easily go the way Ross Barkley went. He went to a big club, and he's just been more or less backup. He's the forgotten man all of a sudden. And for me, look, he can either go Wayne Rooney or Ross Barkley, but I'm hedging my bets on Ross Barkley at the minute. So for me, I think 60 million is way too much to sanction for this kid. I think you'll get a much better player. People are talking, you get Milinkovic-Savic for that, So for me, I'd rather spend money and get someone in like that and go abroad and wave the cash at them, maybe make it rain because we know they need it. And then bring in a player that has a lot more, and it's for the here and now, because Conte, look, with Gordon, it's his end product is my problem. I think he does well getting into the final third, but it's his decision-making. Some of his passes in the final third, he's shooting. Sometimes he's shooting when he should be passing and passing when he should be shooting. And for me, does Conte have time with the games coming in thick and fast to nurture this guy to the player he wants him to be? I don't think so. So I would rather Tottenham stay away from him and bring in someone that's ready-made to hit the ground running.
I mean, Richarlison was 50 plus add-ons. There's no way Gordon is 60 million. Brian Island, massive shout out to Brian, friend of the show. We need to get you back on, actually, mate. So we'll be in touch. I've heard you've got COVID as well, so hope you're recovering soon, mate.
Yeah, take care, Brian.
So yeah, there's all that to consider. Tanganga looks like he's on his way to Amsterdam or Rome. So, I mean, we're trying to shift these fringe players out, but I suppose the big question on everyone's lips is there anyone coming in? Maddison, I don't think Leicester are letting him go, not least if they're letting Fofana go for 75 million, which looks like, again.
It's like Tielemans and Maddison combined, basically. Yeah, they just got it all through one player.
For Fofana, I mean, he's a good player, but he's not a 75 million pound defender in a million years. Yeah, so... who do you think we're going to get in? What do we need? Irish, your view. Do you think we're actually going to sign anyone before the window?
Of course I do. I believe in Don Paratici.
And there's a clue on the screen.
Look, I don't want that guy either. I do not want Mr. Baby Oil either. But look, of course, I believe we're going to get people in. I believe in Don Paratici. I really like what he's done at Tottenham since he's got here in terms of outgoings and ingoings. I think he's done an amazing job so far. And for me, you also look at Antonio Conte's words today, he said, I want 2 players for every position. The fans know and the club knows that I want 2 players for every position. And if we let anybody go, I want them to be replaced first. So I think that's why you're seeing maybe Brian Hill being loaned out to Valencia being held up till Spurs get his replacement in. What I would like to see, I would like to see 2 signings. I think it'd be a shame to make such a good inroads in the market so early on and maybe not top that off. When I look at the squad, we don't currently have that centre-back backup for Eric Dyer. Now, anyone that's listened to me over the last while will know what my thoughts are on that back line of Sanchez, Dyer and Davies. I think Langley ultimately would come in for Davies, and I think Romero obviously back in. I think you might even see an even more improved Dyer. That's my hope. But for me, when I look at that back line, I think we have serious problems, and everyone talks about it maybe defensively, but I talk about it more on the ball, trying to play the Conte way, trying to play out from the back. You've seen against Wolves in the first half, we could not get the ball anywhere into our players quick enough. Like people talk about the midfield. But then I look at Wolves. Nathan Collins doesn't even take a touch on the ball. First time to Neves, and then Neves plays it to players forward. We don't do that. We have to take so many touches. Our passing out from the back is very, very limited, and it has a knock-on effect further up the pitch. It has a knock-on effect into midfield, wing-backs, and the forward players because of how long it takes us to get the ball out there. Teams are just pushing right up against us, going man for man and leaving us no options to pass.
A center back can't play a dangerous pass. There are so few center backs.
And leaving us the only option is to go along with the ball over the top. And when I look at the Arsenal All for Nothing documentary, and it is all for nothing because it was great, and I thank them for the comedy show, by the way, because some of the stuff that Fraud was doing in there, Mikel Arteta, Lego Head, was like the light bulb moment and all that sort of stuff. Honestly, it's crazy. But when you look at the last episode and he talked where they go into the North London Derby and he tells his team, Tottenham play 2 passes across that back line, press them because they play themselves into trouble. And what he means by that is because they can just press right up, block all Tottenham's passes off. It needs to be quicker. If you're quicker, you get to play into your midfielders who are sitting in pockets of space. You look at Liverpool the other day, Van Dijk, Robertson and Trent Alexander, the midfield was so far apart when they were in possession because they knew that black players had the ability to pass it through to them into the channels. So for me, I'd like to see maybe another centre-back come in here. And I know you might not find this, but someone that is good in the air, because we have a real problem from set pieces and have done since Jose Mourinho, but someone who's also maybe a lot better on the ball. And I think you'd see a marked improvement with how Tottenham play out from the back line in the majority of games. And I know some people may say, Dave, you're being harsh. They've kept clean sheets. Great, fantastic. I mean, that is your ultimate job at the end of the day. But in order for us to improve, and the reason why I say centre-back is because if we can get a top-quality centre-back in here, it'll have the same effect that Van Dijk had on Liverpool when they signed him. When they signed him, they went on to win the Champions League, Premier League, FA Cup, League Cup, Club World Championship. And he really solidified that defence. So I think a centre-back would be absolutely crucial. And maybe a player that will add goals from the midfield that has proven track record of assists and goals from that midfield, or another player up in the forward lines for me. But I would be happy with two. And I want to reiterate, I think we've had a very good window so far. I just think it'd be a shame not to follow up and put the icing on the cake.
No, I agree. Chat, your view?
If I were to make a prediction, instead of, maybe saying what I want, if I were to make a prediction, it seems like, the trend is towards a cam, or a creative midfielder. I really agree with Dave on the center back, situation, kind of the word that I was looking for. I'm not sure if, the Yanks use the same term as, maybe you guys, but, when you kind of think of, a center back that's good in possession, you kind of want them to have that good, kind of the word I guess we use is like picture. When he, has the ball at his feet, you sort of want to have that good mental picture of what's available, what's in front of you, who's open, who's going to probably be pressing you, etc. I kind of agree with Dave, where it does feel like Sanchez, his picture is probably quite small. He doesn't really, have a lot of time, to think about what's in front of him. He just more focuses on just getting it under control. And as much as I probably defend moon boots more than maybe Dave does or Eric Dyer, I feel like Eric Dyer's picture is often also not very big as well. It feels like he needs to take 2 or 3 touches before he can really see, who's open. Where if you compared, maybe Eric Dyer or Sanchez to, like, I hate to say it, the William Saliba guy, that guy clearly has, an idea who he's passing to, what, the players that are open available to him right away, where it does feel like our center backs take forever. But if I were to guess, I think we're only going to sign a creative midfielder. I think that's what's going to happen. Unless Tanganga leaves, I feel like we're only going to sign a creative midfielder.
Yeah.
Might be Malinowski, but it seems like that's the trend. I don't know. Just the center back I agree with. I'd rather it be a center back than anything. But if I were to, go by the tabloids, it seems creative midfielder is what Spurs are going for.
And we'll just the one. HG, agree? One in creative midfielder?
No, I think it'll be 2. Like, clearly we want Brian to go.
Yes.
So someone's going to come in and do the job that Brian could do as a replacement, rotational piece, whatever. And to me, Malinowski is the obvious choice because he wants out of Atalanta. They'd be quite happy to sell him. And he's that type of, like I've said to him, he's almost like, he's like Lo Celso but can shoot. He's got that kind of, that's not a negative, but he has that ability. But I just feel that, weirdly enough, if Skip is going to be as he seems to be, we need another central midfielder.
Well, hang on. I'm gonna stand up for Skip a little bit here. So
stand up for him. If he's injured, we can't use him.
Yeah,
that's it.
He's back in training next week, full training with the squad.
Okay, and if he's injured, we can't use him. And he's consistently injured.
What? No. He's had one injury and one
since January. He has been consistently injured. At what point is it a problem?
Injury? It's the same injury.
Again. But at what point do you just say, okay, we're going to allow that to continue? We've got space in.
If he gets injured again, then I'll say fair point.
Cooler, we've got space in the squad. It's not. We're not going to hurt ourselves at all by doing this. Like, I think the club would rather that Sarr goes out on loan again.
Yep.
Right. If the club was happy to keep Sarr around, then there'd be no issue. But I don't think Sarr's been on any of our benches so far this season.
No, he hasn't. No.
And so, like, if Skip is even a little bit dodgy over the next 4 or 5 months, do we really want to play all those games with just 3 centre midfielders? I don't think I do.
My point is there's no reason why he would be a bit dodgy.
Again, we're
No
talking
reason
about
why.
ifs.
No
Like
reason
we've got the space to do something. If we
But
didn't
that's
have the
like-
space,
that's like-
then fair
that's-
enough.
Yeah, but that's like saying, Kane's track record.
That's like that. That's no, but that's like saying, well, if we had the space to do it, why not? It's not going to hurt us. It's not like we've got, when Watford at their peak, where they had 28 players and they had 2 that were paying for not being in the squad. Like, we could use these people. So there's no reason for us to not. There's no if you've got someone else in on loan, or I don't know how many loans you can have, right? But like, if you said to me, you know what, we can sign Tielemans for 25 million. We know he's worth that. We know he's Premier League proven, and he would like to be at a Champions League side. And you know what? If a year later down the road we think Skip is fully fit again and could do all those things, then we move one of them on. There's no issue. Doesn't hurt anyone. Okay.
I suppose I'm slightly frustrated at the suggestion that Skip is this injury-prone player. When
I didn't say he was injury-prone. I said he has been injured.
Unlucky injuries.
I know you didn't, but there's a narrative being written here as we
not
speak.
by me. I'm just talking about what's going on.
Not by you. I agree. You've just triggered me with mentioning Skip and injury.
But this is the thing. Like if we trusted Sarr to be the 5th midfielder, then fair enough. Yeah. Because we've got 12 subs. We've got 12 subs in Europe. We've got 9 subs in the Premier League. If you've got 4 central midfielders, there's a good chance all 4 are going to be named in every single matchday squad.
I'd actually rather we just keep Sarr, and I mean, obviously we're keeping Skip, but I'd actually just keep Sarr nonetheless. I don't even think he should go out on loan because I guess what he's been criticized for is he really has barely even worn a Spurs shirt. Barely even knows what it's like to live in England, let alone, North London. He doesn't even really know the squad very well, by any case, whereas Bryan Hill, of course, I guess was with the squad originally when he came here, and then everything changed once Nuno got sacked, he got shipped away, but he did have that time period, to kind of, adjust or at least make friends and whatnot. I feel like Papa Matasar, for him to leave again, as much as he probably won't really get any minutes, he's only 19 years old. He's basically not much older than Dane Scarlett when you really look at things. Like, I feel like he could benefit from just sort of hanging around the squad, hanging around Antonio Conte, learning from Antonio Conte. And he's only 19 years old. Like, I'm not really a guy that likes to just put them through the conveyor belt of the loan system, especially in his case when he actually doesn't even really know what it's like to play for Spurs. I actually think he probably should be given that chance at least.
Well, till January. Why not keep it?
Yeah, maybe
January?
till January. I like that.
Look, Conte did name check Papa Matasar after the Chelsea game, even though he wasn't asked, and was saying that he was sort of impressed with what he's doing in training and that. But you are taking a massive gamble. Is this kid ready? You have to remember, he didn't start a lot of games last year in Liga, and we all know how bad that league is. And I think when you look at the signings we're looking at, Milinkovic, Savic, Malinowski in that area. Now, I don't think if we get another midfielder, I don't see Conte playing a cam. But when you look at these guys, they can both operate in the engine room in a deeper position where Højbjerg and Bentancur play. So for me, it comes down to, what's your ambition? Is your ambition just to close the gap on Liverpool and City, or is your ambition to have a go? If your ambition is to have a go, which is what Conte is here to do, by the way, you look to bring in another player, in my opinion. But they did say today that they won't be replacing Weeks. I think Charlie Eccleshare came out with it and said they're expecting to let Weeks go, so they won't be replacing them. But for me, I think, look, I would like to see Papa Matasar, come in and do well, but it's a gamble. It is a gamble. I would rather have the sure thing. I'm not a gambling man. I like to have everything, all my X's and O's, or all my X's crossed and all my T's, lined and I's dotted and stuff like that. I'm not a gambling man. With Papa Matasar, it's a gamble. And you just don't know. The games are coming in thick and fast. We're playing 2 games every single week between now and the start of the World Cup. And at some stage, Papa Matasar will see game time, and you just don't know what he's going to do in that midfield. And I'd rather have someone that I do know what they're going to do in that midfield.
I'd agree with you. If my original prediction is that we still are buying a creative midfielder like Papa Matasar, regardless, it's almost like he's relevant to that. It's just when we do think about central midfielders, I see HG's argument. I see your argument, Dave, but we do have Skip and Bissouma as the other rotation options. I feel like we would be kind of it would seem like, a very extra, cherry on top sort of kind of situation signing, at least in my eyes. And maybe getting a creative midfielder, at least one, I think you and I think of creative midfielders the same way, Dave. It seems like, the one that we're all identifying isn't exactly the one that maybe Conte would put in that 3-5-2. He might more like rotate it as like a right wing sort of kind of creative midfielder. But I don't know. It seems like if we were to buy like a Malinowski, I don't think that would affect, Papa Matasari's future or anything. I think they're totally different players.
I get what you're saying, but with Skip's injury record, you're taking a gambling that he's going to be fit, or if he gets back to fitness, that there's not going to be some knock-on effect.
Yes, we're split on the Skip injury record.
When you look at Papa Matasari, you don't know what you're going to get. Højbjerg has played nearly every game, I think, bar 2 in the Premier League since he's arrived at Tottenham Hotspur. And he can get leggy at times, and that's when you need to be able to rest him. If you have Skip injured, Papa Matasari not ready, and Højbjerg needs a rest, you're running a risk with 2 midfielders. For me, I would like to bring in another body. I'm actually more on the HG side, which I didn't think I'd ever be, by the way.
Skip had a serious injury sustained in January. Didn't play for the rest of the season. Then Romero broke him in training, broke his foot. Like, that is a freak accident. There's no real reason to think that he will be getting injured on an ongoing basis. That's all I'm saying.
But if it's a freak and it can happen to him, it can happen to more than one.
It can happen to anyone,
No, but this is it. Like, just look at Liverpool's situation right now. Right, they've got 2, maybe 3 midfielders out, and it's the 3rd week of the season.
I'm not arguing that we shouldn't sign a midfielder, by the way.
Well, what are you arguing then?
I'm just saying that Skip, there's no reason to think that Skip's going to be injured again. That's all.
Yeah, we are going to sign another midfielder.
We are going to sign a midfielder.
Need to sign one.
I agree.
We need to sign one that avoids freak accidents and so on. In that case, we need to sign a midfielder that doesn't like lasagna, doesn't probably, have, the bones that are brittle. It's gonna be a serious medical test here. We're gonna have to do our homework.
The good thing, when someone asked the question about how we're doing with homegrown quotas for Europe and Premier League and everything. Like, right now, we've got 15 players who count as foreign and are over 21, and Reguilon is probably on his way out, so that makes 14. 14 you'd expect to stay. Brian Hill counts as under 21 for the Premier League this season, and so does Sarr, obviously. Right, but neither one of those count as under 21s or list B or whatever for the Champions League. So both of those may not be involved in those 6 games. Right, it's 6 games right now, and yet so we've got so many games that we're going to be playing over the next 3 months before 2.5 months before the World Cup starts. That there's no reason to sit there and say, you know what, we don't need to do anything. Because all you need is a couple. Like, if we get one more injury to a central midfielder, then we're suddenly bare bones for no reason.
I think we'll sign a midfielder. I think we'll sign someone who's flexible and can play across several positions in midfield.
That would be ideal. But finding one that can do that is either going to be a first teamer, someone who's going to come in and really press to be. And I don't think Spurs really want to do that.
No,
we want to find someone who's who's maybe never played at that level at a big team in England before, which to me Tielemans hasn't. Right, like, he's played very often for Leicester. Leicester have done very well, but he's not been part of a massive squad, and he's sitting there waiting for someone to come and get him, and it's not going to cost a fortune to do it. That to me seems a bit of a no-brainer if you have the funds to do it. If we don't have the funds, that's a different question.
And if you think his attitude's right, because he was absolutely shocking last season.
No, I mean, that's also part of it. And we all know that Conte, obviously rates attitude more than anything. But I just think that there's someone out there that would strengthen us in depth. And that's kind of what we need, especially this season, when games are so truncated, where you play so often, then you get a month off, and then you continue playing every midweek for the rest of the season, pretty much. Yeah. It just means that, to me, the squad depth means so much more this season than it does in any other season. And if you look at Liverpool,
playing my triple captain so early in the year.
But Liverpool are struggling because they don't have depth, and the same could happen to City because they don't really have massive amounts of depth. I just think that we would be foolish to not use the space in the squad that we have.
Just on this, I just want to pick this comment up. Hugh was right. Why buying these youngsters? It's bringing you to. I don't think there's any issue with buying youngsters at all. I think it's exactly the right thing to do. It's what Chelsea do. It's what most big successful. It's the way big clubs operate. We should be paying 15 to 20 million pound for prospects, and then even selling them on a profit, loaning them out so they get experience, or bringing them through to the first team. You've got to do that alongside your your youth team players that are coming through. We got some great players coming through. Harvey White's going to be a good player. You got Troy Parrott out on loan. You got the other forward. What's his chop?
Scarlett.
Exactly. Scarlett. Hey,
Mbappe.
You know, we've got good players coming through the ranks, so I'm not worried about that at all. Yeah.
Just quickly on the midfielders, I think the midfield for me has to be a certain type of player. It has to be a player that's going to add assists, add goals, and more in a similar mode of Bentancur, who's better on the ball. Because I think when you look at Bissouma, Højbjerg, Skip, they're more the same sort of players, work hard, you know, and stuff like that. But for me, I think if you're going to be bringing in this midfielder, he has to be technically gifted. You have to have a direct replacement for someone like Bentancur. Because if you don't, I think we've seen the struggles against Roma where Højbjerg and Bissouma were in the midfield. And look, I do blame the defence for passing the ball side to side for 45 minutes and not transitioning quick enough. But when they did get it into them, they could not get turned on the ball. So for me, I think it's clear that midfielder has to be someone more in the mould of a Bentancur than a Højbjerg, a Skip, or a Bissouma.
Completely agree.
Like I've seen this in the comments, so I'm going to put it up. Look. Everyone knows I love Conrad Lima. He's my favourite player. But
your Twitter handle is the Conrad Lima fan club, no?
Conrad Lima fan club president is my Twitter handle. Yeah, I love Conrad Lima, but he will end up at Bayern. He wants to go to Bayern.
Yeah.
It may not be this summer, but it will be next summer if it's not this summer. There's no way. I'd love to think we could convince him, but I just don't see it. So, but you know, someone there has to be someone that can help us. I believe that there are. And I believe it will come in handy. Like last year, I gave our Davo, a lot of hassle because he kept on saying we need someone for Kane, and then Kane didn't get injured for the whole year, and it didn't matter. But it is that same idea, right? Like this year especially, why would we handicap ourselves? It makes no sense to me.
I'll be honest, I want Maddison, but I know he doesn't fit the Conte profile, and I just don't see Leicester parting with him, quite frankly. And I know Maddison wants us as well, but I just, unfortunately, I don't see it happening. But that's the kind of player I want to see. I want to see someone in there who's going to give us a different option. Can pick a lot.
It'll probably be someone from Italy that most of us have never heard of, maybe seen once or twice, and it will come from nowhere. But I just, like, if the rumours are true that we're even looking at Milinkovic-Savic, which I can't believe, but if we are looking in there, then it means we are looking for someone to be that kind of
that would be
central midfielder, attacking midfielder, whatever, hybrid.
I think that would actually be an even. That one is secretly actually better than James Maddison, because I think James Maddison wouldn't be able to play, I think, in a 3-4-3. I'm pretty sure Sergei doesn't want to really play in a midfield too, but he easily could. Kind of like Dave said, he could play that Bentancur sort of role, I think, quite fine. But I think if you were to go for somebody that could sort of, like even, you know, Dave was saying, play sort of a variety of positions and play sort of Bentancur's position as well, if need be. I mean, Sergei Milinkovic-Savic would probably be the best ideal option.
Well, we've got the Cup Champions League draw to talk about as well, so I'm going to throw that up here. Obviously, Group D. HG, I mean, when this got pulled out, I mean, we've got the WhatsApp group that luckily for you two, you're not part of. But you're more than welcome to join the Children WhatsApp group. HG was doing a dance around his Yorkshire living room when we drew Frankfurt out first. Yeah. And then it just got better from there, didn't it, HG?
No, I mean, Frankfurt was all I wanted. After that, I didn't really care. But yeah, Frankfurt was my dream draw. And when Yaya Toure put Spurs out, and I was like, shit, we got a 1 in 5 chance of getting it. Like, I didn't think my odds were particularly good. But then Alton Top picked Group D out, and I cheered. I probably cheered louder than I did for when Harry Kane scored at Wolves the other week. Because all I wanted was Frankfurt. That was my dream draw. Like, it's, and the thing is, like, I mean, most people, maybe people don't know, but like my best German friend is a Frankfurt supporter. He bought me a membership last season, so I follow them, right? And the Frankfurt team now is nowhere near as good as it was when it won the Europa League. It's probably not even as good as it was the year before, but that's great as far as Spurs are concerned. And to be fair, it's pretty good draw for as far as Frankfurt are concerned, because although Spurs are a big club, maybe Sevilla are the only one that could be considered worse than us, and they're pretty good in Europe, whereas Conte hasn't really shown that. So it is it's a good draw for both sides. But yeah, after that, getting Sporting and Marseille, as far as I'm concerned as a fan, like I know Marseille is apparently a bit of a dump, but that stadium is iconic. Going to Sporting is a fantastic draw for anyone who's never been to Lisbon. You've got to get to Lisbon. And so, like for a club that Spurs fans that kind of value our European away days and the idea of going somewhere new and somewhere different, that draw is fantastic. All you want is sunshine and or beer. And Frankfurt doesn't have the sunshine, but it does have the beer. That's it. Done.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That sounds glorious.
Irish, happy about that draw? Think it's winnable?
I'm absolutely buzzing. I mean, I went to Frankfurt because I believe, in my opinion, I think they're the easiest team out of pot one that we could have got. I think you've got Frankfurters, which is German hot dogs. You've got custard tarts in Lisbon, which they're famous for. And then you've got frog legs or snails in Marseille. I mean, it's a delight for you guys if you're going away in terms of cuisine. But look, for me, I think the draws worked out in our favour. I think Conte would look at that. And you have to remember, in between them Champions League games, you've got, I think, a home game against Liverpool, away at Man City, away at Arsenal, and Leicester, all in between them Champions League games. And I think it'll help us in terms of rotation. I think the draw could have been a hell of a lot tougher than what it is. And I think we should have more than enough to get out of the group. And for me, I think it's another bonus that they're all relatively close. We're not flying halfway across Eastern Europe to Timbuktu, and putting miles on the players' legs and tiredness and stuff like that. I know they travel first class and stuff, but it does take a lot out of these guys in terms of travel, different time zones, etc. So for me, I think it's a very favourable draw to Tottenham. I think we get out top easy enough, if I'm being honest. And look, Sporting's a nice one. I think Marcus Edwards is there. Was dubbed the next Leo Messi by Pochettino. And Eric Dyer's former club. And I predict Dyer to score one against them.
Yeah, Air Force Levy will have a few less miles on it. Jack, please.
Sorry, say that last part again. The fork levy, is that what you said?
Air Force Levy will have a few less miles on it than it would have done. So you're happy with that draw?
I think, everybody in the club, should be buzzing, absolutely, just for the jet fuel miles that Levy is, saving. Who knows? He might even allow a player, to give away a shirt, for no cost at all. How much he's saving on jet fuel. But I think it is, quite ideal. Probably all the teams sort of are played quite differently, at least to my knowledge. I think, Frankfurt still sort of embody, a German, kind of pressing team. They actually play with wingbacks as well, which could be kind of interesting. I think, as much as we all agree, they're probably the easiest test. They're still not, absolute farmers like, the case of, the Conference League. So whereas in the Conference League, I think the difficulty that teams maybe don't realize is they are sort of Champions League finals, I think, for those clubs, and I think you're going into really hostile atmospheres, also playing against really terrible football teams. And when you are kind of a much better football team, it does make it, quite a cagey affair, I think, often. Whereas in the Champions League, you are coming up against good teams, still at the end of the day with Marseille, Frankfurt and Sporting. It just happens to be we got the easiest of the good teams that were included in the Champions League. So I think we should all be happy, and we also don't have to travel very far at all. Everybody from Antonio Conte to us to Daniel Levy should be definitely happy. You're absolutely the right choice for him.
I also see a lot of Spurs fans saying it's going to be trickier than what we think. Look, for me, back your boys. We got out of a group. We topped the group with Real Madrid and Borussia Dortmund in it. We got out of the group the year we got to the final in 2019 with Barcelona and Inter Milan in it. We're well able to get out of these group stage and handle ourselves in the Champions League. And when I look at this squad, I think it's better than what we had in 2019 going to the Champions League final. I think we've more in terms of squad depth and stuff like that. So for me, I don't understand why we can't get out of that group. And I get people are going to say, you have to remember Europe Conference League. You also have to remember when you're going to these teams, like, they're waiting to fight a big fish. They are pumped up. And
that's what I mean. It's a big, different type of atmosphere.
Yeah, and if you go there not at it, they're going to wait. They're waiting there to turn you over, and that's what's happened to us. But Champions League nights, I don't really remember too many that Tottenham haven't been up for, so I'm confident.
Yeah, I mean, is it like I know the Frankfurt fans pretty well. We all know what they did at Barcelona and how Barcelona reacted to it. But Frankfurt fans have been doing that for 2 or 3 seasons in the Europa League. They got to the semi-finals a few years ago and lost on penalties to Chelsea. That was pretty unlucky. They could have easily played Arsenal in the final and probably won that game too. So, and the Frankfurt fans, it's 50,000. They are fanatical. They love their side. This is the best team or the best kind of stage they've ever had,
Good
right? Because
tifo.
they won a cup final against Bayern a little bit flukily, if I can say that. But then
That's
they won the Europa League fair and square. They're there on merit. They have sold Kostic, who was probably their best player. They got rid of Haller and Jovic and a whole bunch of players that took them to the levels before. You look at them now, the signings, at least for me, they signed Mario Götze and everyone was like, oh, this is a great deal for Frankfurt. But it's kind of like Dele Alli signing for West Ham in 3 years' time. Like, it doesn't mean a great deal to me, at least.
Correct me if I'm wrong. They haven't won this year either, have they, in the Bundesliga?
No, because the thing is, like, their manager is an Austrian guy, right? And he's quite dour. You know, like, his teams play well, but they keep it tight, and they tend to win games 1-0, 2-0, maybe, if they're lucky, if they do win. They're not the type that will go out and beat you by 3 or 4. So the atmosphere in Frankfurt will be incredible, and our players will have to deal with it. But it'll be incredible in Marseille, and it'll be credible in Lisbon too. I just think that, of course, as Spurs fans, we might get a little bit complacent because it's not the teams we could have got. But I don't think our players will be there. That they won't have that mentality. The players will know. There was an interview that Kulusevski gave a couple of days ago, and they asked him what he thought he could do with Spurs this season. And dead-eyed, he talked about how, well, we expect to do very well. Like, he wasn't going to say we're looking to overtake Chelsea. It was just like, well, no, we're going to try and win every game. And the inference was clear. I'm not saying we're going to win stuff, but I believe we can, right? And that's coming from Conte. And you have to think that the players will do that. We may well go to one of those games and lose one and be a bit unfortunate. But as Irish said, we are good enough to win the group. And I think we will. I think we
should be happy that I agree. You know, like I agree. They won't underestimate, I think, any of these teams. You know, that is sort of, you know, the Champions League. If you're underestimating teams that make it into the Champions League, I think you are kind of being a bit daft, mostly because they all earned it in some stage, you know, to get into the Champions League, whether they did it through that qualifying process, you know, like Rangers, you know, went through all those kind of tough battles to get there, or they did it by, you know, just simply winning the league or, you know, winning some tournament. You know, in the case of Frankfurt have proven, you know, to be a very good tournament side, despite not being, you know, a good maybe league domestic side right now under Oliver Glasner. I think they've shown to be very, you know, skilled in kind of the 2-match ties. He's almost become a bit Mourinho-esque, you could say, like Glasner, and kind of, you know, that aspect. But I feel like, you know, Spurs would be silly to underestimate, you know, any of these teams, because it is the Champions League. It is the most elite competition there is. So to be underestimating, I think anybody would be quite foolish. And then with that in mind, I think Spurs fans should be plenty happy and should be, you know, dancing around like you were, HG, because we were given practically the easiest combination of teams that you could pretty much ask for. Despite all these teams being good, despite them all being good in their own merit, you know, they are the easiest combinations of teams available to play. And I think Spurs fans should.
And I wouldn't be worried about Spurs' mentality going into these games either, though, because remember, Harry Kane wanted to leave because he wanted Champions League football. Hugo Lloris was dodgy on signing his new contract because maybe he wanted to see out the last season at the top of the game. So I think, and Son, and a lot of these players have missed playing in the Champions League. They know, you know, they were given a fresh reminder in the Europa Conference League. None of them wanted to be there. So I think they'll go into this one appreciating being back in the big time. I think they'll enjoy it.
Bit of insight. This was on our show on Wednesday night, but I'm conscious there was just 220 odd people watching. Hit the like button if you haven't already. This is how much money that our accountant, footballing accountant, Steve predicts we're going to make from the Champions League. So would you be interested in that, fellas?
Yeah, tell us.
Especially if we make it out, right? Yeah.
So this is how it's formulated, which is probably not new news to you. But the bit that I am going to bring up is the, which I did think was on here and isn't, but it's okay because I've got it, is the actual cash that we're going to generate. So anyone want to have a guess how much money we're going to get from the Champions League potentially this season, just for being in the group stage? Play along. Let's stick it in the chat. We'd love to hear it.
If we make it out of the group, I'll go for an easy guess without thinking. If we make it out of the group, get out to the knockout rounds.
By the way, you'll either be under or over disappointed, depending on like how full your how many bags you think this
knockout rounds? You get to the knockout rounds. I think you probably earn 100 million. I think you would earn 100 million for that.
What from that total from everything? Yeah,
total from everything, all those 4 categories that you included.
Okay. Irish, do you want to have a go?
I've failed maths in school, so I'm trying to calculate it. So go to HG.
I think I went for a bold one. I think that one was a bit high, so someone could go lower.
Sorry, caller. Can you bring that up again, lad?
Yeah. There you go.
Thank you.
So I'm going to be talking about including revenue from ticket sales, food and beverage, etc.
The secret.
This is revenue, by the way, not profit. Yeah, just to be really clear.
Okay, so look, I think you definitely get about 15 million euros for being in the group stage. So we've got that for sure. I think the TV pool kind of depends on how well the clubs do, but because we were the 4th placed English team, we'll get less than the other 3.
Coefficient.
The coefficient is something else, but the TV pool.
Jack's gone off to get a calculator.
Your share of the TV pool is kind of defined by where you finished when. So, because City won the league, they'll get more money than Liverpool, who will get more money than Chelsea, who will get more money than Spurs, right? But that TV pool is decided by how many games are played throughout the campaign. So we won't even know that until the end of the season. If you're going to get, let's say, 4 home games, will be that 4 home games. How many millions do we make at a home game at Spurs? A fair few.
$1 million on beer alone, isn't it?
Yeah. So, like, I think 70 million should be a decent stab at what we could do. And if we go further in the competition, it will be more.
Okay. Here we go.
I've added in going into the quarterfinals, so I'm at 82.34 million exactly.
Well, you'll love this. So this look at this. He's worked it out by. So if we get knocked out in the group stage, which hopefully is unlucky, 53 million. So we make $1 million on food and beverage. We don't make, we turn over, I should say, $1 million on food and beverage for every home game. So 3 home games. Merchandise sales approximated, ticket sales, prize money, market TV pool, coefficient money, and participation. So there you go. You can see. So if we win it, 146 million. It's not bad, is it?
Quarterfinals, which I guess we should.
Feasible.
I would like us to get to the quarterfinals, close to what I guessed. I guess I said last 16 we get 100 million, so I was 26 million off.
Yeah. This is in euros, by the way.
I think the interesting thing is that it used to feel as if the Champions League money was much more a game changer than it probably is, because the domestic TV rights and the foreign TV rights for the Premier League have gone up by so much that the Champions League money is almost less of a bonus than it used to be. But it's still, I mean,
it's top quality. It's paid for Richarlison just getting to the group stage. So,
if we get those last 16 numbers, 74 million euros is 60 million quid?
Yeah.
So 65 million quid. So, like, when you think of it like that, it doesn't sound that much when you're making, 350, 400 million in revenue anyway.
Football basically works.
I bet if you were to throw it up, though, compared to the Europa League, if you were to throw these same numbers up compared to the Europa League, then you would realize how much it incentivizes you. Because in the case of the Europa League, as we've discussed probably in the past, much trickier competition than people realize. We've seen the winners that have won it. It's not really Premier League teams that seem to find a way to win it. It's usually somebody else. So it does show that, your money, or like the incentive of even trying to win the Europa League, is almost probably not even worth it, with what you have to go through squad wise. Whereas with the Champions League, just getting to the last 16 alone, you're like, yeah, that incentivized us. That was worth it. We're getting to the knockout rounds of the Europa League might not really be all that much. And you probably like, why are we still doing this?
These are based on this season's numbers from UEFA and Steve's approximations on ticket sales, food and beverage, merchandise, etc., which we think are broadly accurate. So, even if we get to the last 16, 74 million euros in the back pocket. Yeah. I thought it was interesting throwing it up because, we haven't got to the Champions League, obviously, for a couple of years. It's big money. To put it into context, I think we made about 4 million last season out of the Conference League, and about 18 the year before from the Europa League total. So when I say made, I mean revenue. So it's going to put a lot of money on the books this year, isn't it? A lot of turnover.
Well, hopefully we use it wiser than what we did after 2019, though.
And this is it. This is it exactly. And as he's rightly saying here, winning the Europa League is worth 53 million because we qualified for the Champions League. Yeah. So it's the Europa League is still good money, but it's nothing. Probably, you get. I think for winning the Europa League, you get what you get for being in the group stages.
I think probably what I should have explained better was, balancing the Premier League as well as a Europa League campaign is tricky, which is why obviously no Man United or, nobody has really, been able to do, well in the Europa League where they make it to the final hurdle and they somehow slip up against a Sevilla, an Eintracht, a Villarreal, whatever it may be. And that's what seems to be the case. So that's probably, the context it could have added is balancing a Premier League campaign, trying to finish as high as you possibly can while trying to win the Europa League, I think is clearly very hard.
Absolutely. 223 people watching. Please do smash that like button. We really appreciate it. Hit the subscribe and get over to Irish Hotspur's channel and Flat Cap Euro Talk for Jack and smash that subscribe button. We've been going 2 hours. We've talked preview for Forest with a Forest fan, which was great. We've talked about the transfer window, the Champions League. We're going to wrap now. Irish, pleasure having you on, mate. If you want to shout out your channel, everyone knows where you are, I'm sure, but go for it.
No, look, first of all, thanks for inviting me again. I actually really enjoy coming on here, so hopefully I get another invite extended again.
Yeah,
you guys can find me over at the Irish Hotspur. I mean, I just do what every other fan channel does, really. Same sort of shows. I like to think I do them better, so get over there and smash the subscribe button.
Yeah, Jack.
I would say just on the Irish, check out, my stats with Jack coming out tomorrow morning. Basically just your sort of preview for the Nottingham Forest game in basically under 15 minutes. I would say if you, don't have maybe a ton of time to be able to prepare yourself, check that out.
Good man. Thanks for coming on again. Appreciate it.
Love it.
HG, as ever, will you be back in Vienna next week?
Monday. So I should be there Monday night if I'm on the show. But if Forest beat us, maybe I'll have to keep my head a bit low and avoid Mr. Door for a while. But it shouldn't happen. But no, it's a couple more days here, a chance to go to the coast tomorrow, and some fun as long as the weather stays good.
And a chance to go to Forest. A chance to go to Forest, yeah.
Hopefully, yes. I'll send you a picture if I'm in the stadium. Until then, I'm saying nothing.
Last time I went to the City Ground, Mido scored, I think. So there you go.
The last time I went to City Ground was my first ever game watching Spurs back in 1987. So
it's not changed.
We need a better result than we got that day. I'll say that.
Good times. Until next time, come on, you Spurs. We're going to be top of the league this time next week.
Come on, you
Spurs.
Spurs.
Come on,
don't say we trust.